wheel here in front of me.
Yeah, we're live.
Good. Yeah, we're there.
Are we live? Okay, folks, ladies and gentlemen of Media World, this is it's Thursday. It's just gone 8:30. This is your weekly dose of Mauls, balls, and all. As always, we shoot the breeze. We talk all things rugby, and with your involvement, you can text. As always, we're chatting to you as well. You can text your questions, your comments, your opinions. We'll see them. And if they are appropriate, most of them normally, we will put them up on screen and the panel here will address them. Joining me this evening are my colleagues in this group. We have Richard Holland. Richie, how are you doing? Are you well, buddy? Good man. Okay. We also have returning. Good. We also, returning to us, we have James Grennan. We haven't seen James in a while.
Cheers,
he is Connacht's biggest fan. And we also have Peter Martin joining us as well. Pete, how are you? Are you well?
Amazing.
And also our special guest this evening. He is an author. He is a writer. He's a journalist. He's a best-selling author, I might say. By the way, I have read The New Breed, which is a great read, folks. If you haven't read it, well worth it. I'd highly recommend it. And he is also a playwright. His play, Soldier Field. The clues in the title, folks. It is starting a new run down in Limerick, and if you can catch it, I'd very much recommend it, folks. Pat McCarry, how the hell are you? Are you well in yourself?
I'm doing good, yeah. Thanks very much for that lovely introduction, yeah. Much better than James's introduction, yeah.
Well, there you go. That's it. Come here, Pat. I know we spoke before we went live. I'm just intrigued. I haven't seen Soldier Field because when it was up near me, I was away. But I will see. I will definitely go and see it when it's back up here. Where did the idea, the inspiration come from for Soldier Field?
Yeah, as you kind of mentioned there, the clue is like for what the play is about. It's in the name itself. Like I suppose anyone who's like a big Irish rugby fan would really remember that kind of 4 or 5 week period in 2016 where Anthony Foley passed away, and Munster had to play Glasgow a week later, and then even like just a few weeks after that again, they a few Munster lads, like 4 Munster players were in the squad when Ireland beat the All Blacks for the first time in Chicago. So I was saying, like for me, like I was the day job of being a journalist, I was kind of covering that story at the time, and just always remember like just the shock of hearing about Anthony Foley passing away, and just those images over in Paris at the time, going down to Limerick that week, like Keith Earls and Peter O'Mahony speaking so well about it, and just what those players had to go through. It always stuck in my head, like how did those guys get through that 4 or 5 weeks, and some of the like amazing feats that they kind of achieved as well. So that was it. I remember and again, fortunate enough with the job that I was over in Chicago at the time when Ireland beat the All Blacks for the first time, and so I was kind of inspired from chatting to an Irish lad who him and his young family had to kind of leave Ireland during the recession, and then he was always talking about he felt that Ireland's best chance to beat the All Blacks was going to be in Chicago that time, because you'd be away from the pressure of being at home and people saying you can't do that and they're too good for you. So they were unencumbered by all that, and they went out and made history. So just the idea of like talking to the players around that match and then knowing some of the fan stories as well, I was like, geez, I think there's a great story there. If I could tell that and kind of weave the stories of the fans and the players in, it'd be a great story to tell. Like, so I had the idea rattling around in my head for 2 years, and my wife kind of said to me, all right, go away with yourself and stop wrecking my head about it and see if you can write it. Like, so disappeared off to an Airbnb for a few nights and put the framework together and rewatched the game and rewatched it and picked here the moments to kind of build a bit of drama around it as well. Like, so it tells the story of like 40 Ireland players and eight fans leading up to that match, and then the match itself as well. So we're delighted. I think I mentioned to you, we put it on last year in the Moat Theatre. It was previously on in the Mill in Dundrum, and then just in February gone, we got to do it in the Moat again, and then do it in Limerick in the Lime Tree. So it was brilliant to have it there in front of like a crowd of 500 people, like a sellout show, and raise money. Got to know like Orla Foley, Anthony's sister, through kind of, I think she was doing a fundraising song, Barry Murphy from Hermitage Green, who I used to do the House of Rugby podcast with as well. Like he was doing a song to kind of raise money for Orla's Wild Ways, and got to know Orla, brought it down to Limerick, and it was brilliant. So looking forward to a run that we're going to do later on this the end of October, the week leading up to the Ireland All Blacks game in Soldier Field. We're doing Limerick, we're doing Tralee, and we're doing in Dublin again. So should be good. And I feel like I've been talking for, I think you've probably 2 minutes left in your show after that.
Not at all. Come here. I meant to say, I did say to you before we came live, I read your book, The New Breed. I thought it was a fantastic read, folks. Well worth the read. Any more books, Patrick, in going on, or should we?
There's a chap from me and a chap from one of the book publishers. We're often in touch, and you'll throw ideas out there. And I was always trying to get John Muldoon to do a book, and he said if he wanted to stay in rugby, he couldn't do the book that he wanted to do, because he said he had too many stories to tell and dirty laundry to air as well. Like so. But yeah, like what is it? Yeah, I have a couple of ones that you'd be talking about. I'd love to kind of go over to maybe La Rochelle next year, and kind of like, or I'd love to just follow them for a while. I did it for a while when I was working with like Joe.ie. Went over a few times in a season and followed the La Rochelle story and followed Bristol Bears, and I love the idea of following a team for a season. Like, but the fact that you have some like the Irish contingent over there. I'd love to go over and do something like that. Like, and before, I don't know, you can imagine Roger will probably finish up there in 2027. So before it's all over, I'd like to go over and catch a bit of it. So if I was allowed, if I got a budget to do it and disappear a few times during the year to the west coast of France, I'd love to do something like that.
And you might be divorced then.
Yes.
If your wife said that. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. So, Patrick, and just one last thing. If people want to get tickets for the play, Patrick, where do they go?
Oh, thank you. It's in the Mill Theatre in Dundrum, and that's the Dublin shows. Then you have the University Concert Hall in Limerick, and you have Sheem Satira down in Tralee. So just go to any of their websites, and you'll kind of see, like, they're all up on sale now at the moment as well. So, as I said, we'd love to see. And the great thing is, like, when rugby fans go along to see the show as well, it's like they're getting all the in jokes and stuff like that. Yes. And we kind of encourage the crowd to cheer and sing and shout and treat it like you're at a match as well. Like,
all right, okay. Well, that could be dangerous now with a few points on board with a few people, you know. So I wouldn't encourage that now, Patrick. Now,
maybe not Richie at a match now.
No, maybe not. Okay, folks. Peter Martin, I'm going to come to you first. Just a few people to say hello to. Gregor Galway, evening all. Good to see James on. Yes, he's been absent for a while.
Hi, Greg.
Christopher Goff, good evening, gentlemen. L. Willoughby, evening, chaps. Hello to all indeed. Peter Martin, first point to you. Let's just talk about the player of the tournament was named as Ty Byrne and not Finn Russell, as a lot of people mistook that for. And I'll tell you, Pete, I had to look into this. How did insurance, this is just petty on my behalf, how did insurance nominated, they named Finn Russell. Now, you know my feeling, everyone knows my feeling. Sorry, Patrick, my feelings on Finn Russell are not favourable.
He's a super fan. Peter's a super fan of Finn Russell. He has Finn Russell boxer shorts and everything. He's
absolutely. There you go. So, Pete, I had to look into the history. All right, I had to look into the history of Howden Insurance, and there is a Scottish connection. Apparently, the original founder back in the 1800s or whatever was a shipbuilder or shipyard worker or whatever from Edinburgh. So that did not surprise me. But Pete, my question is, Ty Byrne got player of the series. Would you agree with that, or would you have one of your own, or was it deserved? I think it was. What, Pete?
I think it was deserved. To be perfectly honest, I would go out, stick my neck out, and I would say, take away, we'll say, from all the matches that he played, and we'll say the media's rating out of 10. I'd say he was the most consistent player, without a shadow of a doubt. Granted, he did play a couple of games early in the tour where he was not good, and you could kind of see it in his demeanour. I felt in the pitch, he was like, "This is not fucking going well. But he kept at it. He played the 80 minutes. He's got remarkable durability as Tyke Byrne. Like when you think about the position he plays in, and indeed two positions really he plays in, and how physical, even more physical, the game has become in the last few years. I just think, like, even when you're going back to the likes of players of the recent past, I think even you're looking at Jamie Heaslip type durability. Like, you know, we all kind of lauded Jamie Heaslip. He never got flipping injured, and then all of a sudden, he almost got flipping paralyzed, like that really bad neck injury, and that he was so close to getting paralyzed and so on and so forth. So, long story short, I thought he was absolutely simply magnificent. And I think it just nails down that he is, you know, regardless of any other position, and there are plenty of positions in which we have world-class players. I think even the most begrudging Springbok or Kiwi or South African or French or English fans, they'll just say Tyke Byrne. Absolutely world-class in my 15 every day of the week.
Yeah, okay. Richard, before I come to you, our colleague Dara Weston tuned in late, but Pat talking about following La Rochelle makes me think of Trent Crim from Ted Lasso. Okay, well.
You'll have to get the wavy hair now, Pat, like Trent.
Matt Boland, another colleague of ours. Evening all, lads. Welcome, Pat McCarry. Great to have you on. Thanks, is indeed. Shirley Thornton, sounds brilliant, Pat. Hashtag Mill Theatre. And Dara Weston again. Byrne and Furlong both put in some shout and gave all the other ties a lot to live up to. Okay. Richard Holland, you've been a Tyke Byrne.
The man is just a machine. You know, and we've said it before, you look at him playing and he looks like he's wrecked after 20 minutes. You know, he's kind of strolling around during a break and play. Yeah. But every time he pulls on a Munster jersey or an Irish jersey, or in this case a Lions jersey, he's just a beast. You know, I think I've seen this. He's played well over 500 minutes over the course of the tour. You know,
427 apparently.
Yeah, well, it's just, you know, it's just incredible. Yeah, but you know, by a long way, he had the most minutes after a very long season, a very long and a very difficult season at Munster. So he 100% deserves player of the tournament. I was confused because after the match, you could see him putting the medal around Finn Russell, and you're going, "What the fuck was that?" And then you hear that Tyke Byrne got a medal, and it was all, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like, but no, to me, Tyke Byrne is the player of the tournament. Him and Furlong turned back. He was like the Furlong of 10 years ago during the test as well. He was absolutely brilliant as well. So yeah, no, Tyke Byrne for me was definitely player of the tournament.
Okay. Yeah, player of the tour. Yeah. Thanks, Richard. James Grennan.
What surprised me most about Tyke Byrne's performance was, like, he had a tough season, all right, with Munster, but he wasn't really playing that well, I thought, with Munster. There was talks that he might even make the tour, and then he had a bit of a faltering start for the first couple of games, but he just grew into it, and my God, he was immense for the test matches, and yeah, all day long deserved it. I know you were bitterly disappointed, Peter, that your friend Finn didn't get it, but you know, Tyke's the man.
All right, okay. Patrick, sorry, I see Pat. Is it Pat or Patrick? What?
Oh, anything goes. Yeah, Pat. Yeah, Pat is. It's funny enough. It's probably Pat is just whatever Twitter was free at the time was Pat McCarry, and that's how it's been known for. Yeah, Pat's almost my dad's name. I sometimes get a bit freaked out when I hear it myself.
All right. Okay. Pat, Tyke Byrne, player of the series. We had the ex-Ulster and Ireland player Justin Fitzpatrick on with us last week, or whatever it was, but before the third test. Anyway, and the question was asked: who would be, if you were to choose now, who would be your player of the tournament? And everyone on screen said Dan Sheehan. I suggested Tyke Byrne. I suggested Tom Curry. I suggested Ellis Gaines. So, Pat, were you, I like, with your bank of knowledge, you have far more rugby knowledge than I think all of us here on screen, but Tyke Byrne, Was he the man for you, Pat?
Yeah, but like I was doing. Yeah, I think the lads were talking about like, or Pete was talking about the ratings that were done. Like, kind of did that all the way through it and went back and added it all up. And it's funny across the whole tour. I think if you worked it out on average, like for the ratings I gave anyway, Itoje just was across the whole tour, just like a 7.5 or 7.6, slightly ahead. But then if you look at the test series, Curry and Byrne were kind of just stepped it up, and I thought the two of them were brilliant in the last test as well. As bad as a lot of stuff went for the rest of the lines, like they were both great. So for me, I always thought like, yeah, Itoje kind of consistent all the way through the tour, but when you're coming to the series, kind of holds a bit more weight, doesn't it? Like, so I would have said it would have been between Curry and Byrne, and then Byrne would just edge it, like, you know, just because he's played all 80 minutes, like had the turnovers, even like himself, and like there was a couple of double teams, even with Morgan. They'd win turnovers as well, like, and so I thought he was just fantastic, and as Pete was talking about as well, it's just like as the game went on, he seemed to get better and better and get second wind, and so he would edge it for me, like, and I don't think many people would complain about that, but I suppose the one thing I'd like to mention is just the fact that like Curry, he just left me. I was just so impressed with him. It's like I think sometimes we feel that people underestimate like someone like Hugo Keenan or Tyke Byrne from other countries. Like they go, he's a great player, but you're like, are you seeing what we're seeing? I was a little bit like that with Tom Curry. I'd be wondering why the English are so kind of hell bent on this guy he has to be in the team. And then you see him in that test series and you're like, yeah, I can see what you're talking about. I just left the series just so impressed by him.
Well, let me ask you then, because this has always intrigued me. You being the writer, the journalist, how do you guys give player ratings? What's it based on?
Yeah, I suppose some places do have it a little bit different. I think for me, I'd probably start like you start at a 6, almost like 6 is your average. Like some other outlets or journalists would start at like a 5. 5 is your average. So once you have your little kind of thing in your head that 6 is average, 7 is good, let's say 8 is very good, 9 is unbelievable, and then 10 is just kind of, you know, Jesus, like this is they almost didn't make a mistake. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, a guy can have an unbelievable performance, but he can kind of give away a penalty or have a knock on. So most of the time it'll be a 9. Sometimes like it's very kind of subjective as well. Like there's a lot going on in games. Sometimes it's like, I often say that to people, like I'll go back and rewatch a game later on that evening, especially if it's a test match or something. And I've been known to kind of revise my ratings as well. Like, cause you do miss an awful lot of stuff that's going on. It's very much like you could have your head down and you miss a great carry and then you look up and you just catch somebody doing something at the right time.
Yeah.
You're basing it on almost like the eye test is what they say. And then and then you have your stats, like you're going on and seeing like as the game's happening, like, okay, you're almost double checking sometimes like your own homework. Like, so you'll make your own little scribbles and notes, and then you'll go and check like an ESPN or like Opta or something like that. Anything you have access to give you some kind of broad thing. And then that's it. Yeah, you go and you put it down, but you very much know that it is subjective. But that's the beauty of them. Like, you know, working in journalism, you know that this is going to get people riled up as well. Like, and people will go crazy because you've given somebody a 7 and they think it's an 8 or the opposite way around. And you're having these big arguments over giving, you know, some guy 7 and they really should have been 8 and this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, sorry, come here to me. Have you ever given someone, I'd love to know this, have you ever given a player a 10?
I have, but I've been carried. Yeah, I've been carried. I'd say maybe like the big performances. Let's say like South Africa, like away.
No, Pat, no, you're after just killing the mood now. No.
So it's South Africa.
No. Have you ever given an Irish player a 10?
Oh no, yeah, I have. Yeah, I was thinking, just like that Soldier Field game. Let's say, like for example, I probably gave like 2 or 3 out in that game. Like, and
go on, who?
I'd say Conor Murray got one. Trying to think who else. I thought Jared Payne, he might have got one. I'm trying to think who else I might have been swept up at the moment. Maybe CJ Stander as well. Like, Jordy Murphy might have been on course for one until he got injured. Like, but. Who else was brilliant? Yeah, Payne was brilliant. Henshaw was great in that game as well. I might go back and as we're chatting, I might go back and see if I can find it, and I might have given 8 out. But yeah, I have been known to give it. Yeah, sometimes it's like, there is that kind of subjective thing again where somebody might make a mistake, but like I'll still be like, Jesus. Like let's say Keenan, he gets the try that wins the test series. Like you're almost going, feck that. Like, he had a great game as well, but like that might bump him up 2 points in your head as well. And then I know even some journalists would do the same thing as well. Like you might have harsh ratings ready to go, and this is terrible. And then all of a sudden they get a last minute try to win the game, and you're like, I better go easier on these guys here, or I might change this to a 7. So, but yeah, I have been known to get very carried away with the results and kind of lose all my kind of journalistic integrity and throw out a few 10s. Yeah.
And come here, do you get slaughtered on the tweet machine or X or whatever the bloody hell you call it now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I think Facebook can sometimes be tougher than Twitter. Like Twitter kind of is. But yeah, there's always a bit of back and forth, but yeah, that's what you're kind of looking for. But as long as you can stand over it, and as I said, sometimes if there's a really big game, or if I'm hearing a lot of people getting back to me and saying, I can't believe you only gave him a 5 or a 6 or something, you might be like, Jesus, maybe I better go back and have a look at that and see if I've got something wrong. Like so that's the beauty. I suppose it's not like well, I suppose since 2012 I've kind of just been mainly doing stuff for online outlets and. But yeah, I suppose it's not like a newspaper where it goes to print and it's out there forever. I can always go back and hit the edit button if I need to.
Yeah, and you're writing now for Rugby Pass and Rugby World, Patrick.
Working for them and then just doing some stuff for around the big kind of Ireland games and Lions Tour, doing a bit of stuff for Balls.ie as well. So those 3 are the main ones then, yeah.
And you've written for Joe. Obviously, you were editorial lead for Joe, weren't you? And also the 42 you've written for, and it's quite an extensive portfolio you have.
Yeah, I was with the 42. Yeah, back when it was called The Score, I was with them, and Niall Kelly and Adrian Russell, who I think is with the Examiner now, and Murray Kinsella was there. Just kind of like we crossed paths for a year. Like he was living over in France at the time, and looking to kind of get back because he had only recently retired. He was playing a bit of club rugby and stuff over there. But it's funny to think back of. I think it was 2013 during the Lions Tour. Murray was doing his own blog, and he was using GIFs to break down stuff. And it was like, somebody discovered fire or something like that. Like, what is this? And I remember meeting myself and Sean Farrell. We're talking to Adrian, who was the editor in there, and we're like, oh, you have to get this guy in for a chat and stuff. And Jesus, Murray's gone on to do amazing things now since then. So yeah, went there and then was with like Joe.ie for like 10 years, and yeah, now just kind of back freelancing and doing stuff for different outlets. So gives you a bit more freedom to do things.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Thanks, Pat. Here's Dara Weston now, another colleague of ours, backing up my point there, Pat.
Okay, yeah.
We don't praise the SAFA. The SAFAs, they do that themselves. Mike Sheedy, Peter Martin, I'm coming to you next. My next point. Mike Sheedy, Ty had great lines. Test match, manager match 2 times. Our new Peter O'Mahony 2 Warriors. Here's a question from Dara Weston, I think directed at you, Pat. Would you ever deduct points from a player's performance because you think, for instance, they're a spoofer or a winger who can't defend or catch or kick a ball?
Is that directed at one of you guys now?
It's kind of leaning towards me, Pat. But I know exactly who Dara's talking about. All right, like that. Okay, Peter Martin, the player of the tournament. Do you think what player? Now I have my own in mind, and I'll say them. Players that kind of didn't live up to their expectations on the tour, and I'll tell you mine: Marcus Smith, Finn Smith, and Duhan van der Merwe. Pete, go for it. Players that now I'm not saying bad. I'm not bringing that into it. Just that might not have lived up to their expectation.
Yeah. Well, look, I suppose the way it is. Going back, if you want to bring it back a little bit, and I will bring it back a little bit. One of the things that I think when a Lions tour is being formulated and you're picking players is it's not only, we'll say, players who are obviously in form and or standing out and given an 8 out of 10 performance in the highest level at club, European, or indeed the Six Nations. They're also, I think, there's an important part of their character and whether they're able to tour well or not. I would say, the likes of Finn Smith and Marcus Smith and Van der Merwe. Van der Merwe, I'll deal with him initially. He basically went purely because he's form and because there's a little bit of politics. He's a Scottish player and whatever. He is not, as we know, an Andy Farrell player. He just simply isn't. Okay. Finn Smith and Marcus Smith. Marcus Smith, I think, look, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for him. I think he got a fair amount of opportunity. I would say between himself and Finn Smith, he had the more opportunity to do something, I would say, than perhaps Finn Smith.
Yeah.
I think just like the way it is, you find out an awful lot about yourself as a player. These guys find out an awful lot about themselves as players and as people when they go into this different environment, which a Lions tour is. And I think they just haven't. Some players rise to it, and others don't. Like you could turn around and say that, you know, and I will say this because it's very, very harsh, but perhaps Josh Van der Fleer, there was something going on there that he didn't quite move the needle enough. Granted, it was a very, very competitive space where he was playing, and the fact that he's a specialist 7, perhaps he didn't quite move the needle enough. There's probably there's 1% he left behind when he got on the plane to Australia. You know, it's just one of those things. And just back to what you know, you're talking about Tom Curry being selected. Like, I had a conversation with I went out to the local club to have a breakfast. As you did, Lions breakfast, few pints and dirty breakfast roll and what have you in the local club. And I was turning around and was chatting to a couple of lads and was like, what's the crack with, you know, talking about Tom Curry. And the two lads were raving about how he was brilliant during the Six Nations and so on. And I countered a little bit saying, look, statistically, he's been the worst back row player that was there. Like, he basically, his tackle stats, his ruck entry, you know, defensive ruck, attacking ruck, carries, the whole shooting gallery. He was basically bottom of the pile. And we just kind of agreed to disagree and said, look, obviously Farrell sees something, you know, and ultimately what it is that, like, you know, there's always that, you can go by the stats, but there's always that intangible. And I think that intangible is the piece where there are players out there who will just raise their level by 2 gears for big games, and that's what Curry did.
But Justin Fitzpatrick, the ex-Ireland and Ulster player, Pete, last week said Tom Curry is one of those players, as you just said. He raises his game for this. Okay, all right. Thanks, Pete. Richard Holland, your thoughts on a player who I'm not going to say played bad, but maybe just didn't turn up for this particular Lions tour.
Pretty much what you, the two Smiths in particular. I think Marcus Smith is suffering from, is he a fullback? Is he, you know, been pushed around? He's played very little ball time at 10, and he is a 10. He's not a 15. I will say that. Finn Smith, he'll be back. He's only a young guy. You know, he will tour again. I have no doubt on that. Yeah. I think he was almost brought along just to see what it's like. I don't think he was ever going to be in contention to start any of the tests, but just to kind of dip his toe into the water and see what, you know, to see what it was like, and if he was put out for it. Van der Merwe, he's great with ball going forward, but his defensive work is absolutely atrocious. And that is not the Andy Farrell way. As who was it? Someone said that he's not an Andy Farrell player, and that's where Curry comes into it. I think Curry is an Andy Farrell player. You know, he's the sort of player that Andy Farrell would love, and that's probably why he got the nod. And to be honest, he earned it, and I can't say that I feel sorry for Van der Fleer. I obviously I do, but I think Curry did show a little bit more. But no, look, the two Smiths didn't perform.
Okay. Anyone else, Richard, apart from the three that I've mentioned there, that you'd say didn't really turn up?
Not really, no. I mean, Bundy had a couple of quiet games. You know, there was a couple where he was a little bit flat for, I think it was the first test.
Don't say that now. James Grennan is next. Don't say that.
He was a little bit flat in some of the games, but
okay.
Look, that's Bundy. So
okay, all right. Okay, Richard, we leave it at that. James Grennan, go ahead.
First of all, speaking of Bundy, I'd like to give a shout out to his new arrival to the family, Anya Bundy, or Anya Aki, has arrived into the family. All his kids all begin with the letter A. So he's continuing with the family tradition there. And
you know the family, James, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah,
My daughter and his daughter are fairly good friends, and we bump into him in the village fairly regularly. So, he's unconventional when it comes to the birth of his children. Andronicus was born at the kitchen table in the house, and Anya was born in the taxi on the way to the hospital. So,
right, okay.
And he missed the birth, and he went to play the test, and he hadn't even seen his daughter when he was being interviewed afterwards. He hadn't seen his new baby at that stage. Surprise! I do agree with Richard. He did have a couple of quiet games, but I think Finn Smith in particular, there was a lot spoken about him on the run up to the Lions tour, and the great promise he had, and he was the new hope for English rugby, and he was going to be this, that, and the other. And look, he didn't get that many opportunities, and he, as Richard said, he may have been just brought along with a view for the next tour, that he knows what it's about, gets involved in it, maybe gets his chance and see how he goes. But of the Connacht lads, I thought Mac was probably the weaker of the three that were on tour, and I think he's still carrying that shoulder injury a little bit. If you look at him when he's not on the ball, this twitching of the shoulder is continuously doing that. So there's something still there and something still bothering him. But I think he was more surprised than anyone to get brought on tour. He said he was actually speechless, and I was shocked. And I said it on this show here one of the times I was on before. I'm a big Mac Hansen fan, obviously, but I wouldn't have had him on the Connacht team, let alone the Lions tour, with the form he was showing on the run up to that. So a little bit surprised, but not overly surprised that he didn't perform.
All right. Okay. Thanks, James. Pat, the three players that I mentioned, I don't think any online or print media would shy away from the players that I've mentioned. But your own thoughts on the players that you think, I don't know if you agree with the players I've mentioned, but if you have your own players that you think just didn't really turn up on this Lions series, this Lions tour.
I'd agree with you with all those three that you mentioned. Van der Merwe was just almost a comedy show every time the ball came near him or was kicked in behind him, but a brilliant player in attack, and I'd say that's almost like England's fire now they have to put out, don't they, with the two Smiths. They have Smith and Smith that they have to deal with, and now all of a sudden Farrell's coming back into the mix if he wants to play Test rugby again. So, they'd be kind of disappointed with that. Bundy, that's a guy now who's probably peaked. He's kicking on in age. I kind of was wondering, at this stage, does Farrell have to say, do we make other plans now for the World Cup? And I know Jamie Osborne is there, and even the likes of Hugh Gavin was given a run out as well. But do we have to start looking at other people, or do we just commit to? I don't know. Who else is around? McCloskey's, I think, is it the 8th today or whatever? McCloskey's turning 33 tomorrow, so he's getting on. Henshaw's kind of getting on as well. So that's something to address. I thought, it's harsh on Bundy because he was going to be paired up with Ringrose, and then Ringrose had to get pulled out for the first and the second test, and then he was teamed up with Hugh Jones. So it was kind of, he had to deal with a lot, and then Farrell was coming in, he had to shift out again. But he will be disappointed with how I think he even mentioned that himself. He even threw out a few expletives after the third test that he wasn't happy with how it went. So I'd say him. James Lowe is a big one. There's a guy that kind of this is his only opportunity, and it's kind of passed him by. The English media were really harsh on him. He was getting a lot of 3 out of 10s and 4 out of 10s, and he didn't do anything dreadful, but he just didn't do anything that we know that he can do.
Yes.
That kind of thing. The big left boot was kind of used a few times, and he had that brilliant offload for the Tyke Byrne try as well, in the second test. But apart from that, he again is a guy that kind of, maybe his big Lions opportunity passed him by. And then the other one was Ronan Kelleher, who every time he seemed to come on, the lineout seemed to get worse. One of your main things you have to do, he carried well, but That's just still a problem that hasn't been solved yet. And like it felt like now it didn't help that Ryan and Itoje went off in the third test, but it felt to pieces like in the third test. And yeah, he didn't like. I was almost surprised that he kind of made the squad for the third test, and then not a lot of people came out of that third test with credit, but he's a guy now that has a lot of convincing to do for me and a few others. I'd say going into November.
But Pat, the line out for not just the Lions, not Ireland, for any team, the line out issue should be. I played the game. The line issue, it should be a relatively easy problem to solve. So I don't get why the Irish, the national squad, we had it. We had line out issues. I don't understand. Do you understand why it is so difficult to solve the bloody line out issues?
Well, Munster last season, another example.
Yeah.
Was shocking.
Yeah,
shocking.
but
Their line out was shocking.
Pat, I mean, we had Pat. Now I'll preempt this. We had Shane Byrne on this show, and Shane Byrne, hooker, line out thrower. I asked him a separate question, and he said basically, I'm paraphrasing here now. He said a lot of hookers don't know where to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
Like, what is it with the line out?
Yeah, it's and I was surprised that Australia didn't go after the line out more in the first and second test, because that's what they did to us last November. They went after us and they just were making it messy for us. So I was surprised they didn't really kind of go after us until they kind of and almost until it was too late as well. But yeah, it's funny that like everybody seems to think of like Jamie George. He's the guy. Like, I don't know. Why don't you study him a little bit more? He's a guy who's got great completion rate. And then Sheehan kind of cruised through the tour. He was up to 93% completion rate. But there was never anything. There was no big launch plays off it. There was no kind of like a lot of those completions were even thrown over the back as well. Like, so it's an amazing thing that they haven't actually been able to solve. And it's sometimes it's all kind of it's the guy who's making the calls. That's why like James Ryan sometimes would be so important, but then all of a sudden he's on the bench an awful lot of the time. So it's like the caller seems to be the one that they all kind of gravitate around. Like, so yeah, it'll be an issue for Ireland, but it is amazing how they can seem to fix it on the fly. Like Munster were struggling, as you said, for a while. But like if I was a team, like like the All Blacks disrupted us there in the past as well. If I was a team coming up against Ireland or Leinster in the next while, that's where I'd be going after them. So it's amazing they can't have somebody to fix it, but you definitely need 3 strong jumpers in there. And then maybe again get the hookers to work on their throwing a little bit more, like, because they seem to be happy to have them as extra loose forwards, but get one of the basics right.
Yeah, no, you're right, Pat. I agree with everything you just said.
There's no point playing. It's no point playing a hooker if you can't throw the ball straight. It's it's one of the essentials of the game.
Yeah, Pete. Any thoughts on this, Pete? Before we move on.
Yeah, well, I would say that the only time for me when the hooker can be absolutely nailed with fault is when it is literally a crooked throw, where the throw ends up on the outside shoulder of his own player, when it's literally like out there. It's out there and it's a clear crooked throw. They're like an awful lot of it is it's basically, I always in my head I call the line out almost the dance, because there's movement or 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, this constant jostling. And as Shane Byrne kind of pointed out, and he's right, you're thrown to where the opposition aren't.
Yeah.
So when does the line out for Ireland or the Lions, whatever the case may be, and Andrew Porter's coming up to Andrew Porter is going up to whisper in the ear of whichever, Kelleher or Sheehan, what it is, right? He knows where it's going. All of a sudden, then when there's a jostle, it has to perhaps change because they've twigged it. So there's perhaps a change has to be made, and it's like, I don't know whether there's a wink or something like that. There's another signal given as regards, well, it's not going to 2, it's going to 8, we'll say, down the back, and it's fired there. There's an awful lot of tactic in it, and there's an awful lot. There is a bit of news in it. What I can't understand is that there isn't an awful lot more of the trick plays where, it's thrown to 4, but 4 is moving backwards. There's a gap created, and perhaps Hooker then loops in and catches the return ball after he's thrown it through. Or the scrum half is going through, or even if it's just prop ball, it goes literally. The prop turns his back, jumps around, hands up, grabs it, and it's a quick one up the short. So just the concept. If there's more of that, if there's more variation, you're making the opposition think, where is this going next? Yeah, and I don't think, and that's a criticism I would have of Leinster and Ireland in particular. There is not near enough variation.
Imagination, Pete. Imagination, Pete.
Imagination. At the end of the day, like 100% line-out could be 10 throws to the front, and that's 100%. 10 throws to the prop at the front. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to always go into the second row's hands. At the end of the day, what are we trying to achieve? We want to retain possession. That's it.
Yeah. Depending on the position of the pitch where the line out is, if you're 5 meters out, you want to catch more drive and score. Okay, James Grennan, any thoughts on this before we move on?
Not really. I don't know.
Okay, we'll move on.
I don't know about the intricacies of a line out, so move on.
All right. Okay. Just a few comments. Shirley Thornton, good evening, Shirley. That's directed at you, Pat. Have you ever given a 0 rating? Ooh.
I don't think I have. I might have given. I'm trying to think the lowest I might have given. I might have given Bundy a 2, maybe. Remember he got sent off against England, and it was the second time in like 18 months he got sent off. I might have seen red there and kind of gave him a much lower rating. But yeah, maybe that. I think Prendergast maybe. He had a couple of struggles there earlier this year, didn't he? But never a 0. I don't think I've ever given anyone a 0. They'd have to maybe, I don't know, stamp on somebody's head maybe to get a 0. Oh, actually, who was
assault the ref? Or
yeah.
All right, okay. Dara Weston, I'm presuming this is a joke of some sort. Marcus Smith strikes me as a lad who'd game to the NFL, given half a chance, speaking of which, any idea where Reece Sanders is going for the coming season? He's decided he's coming back to rugby. Pat, any idea?
No, even just from talking to a couple of Welsh journalists, they think if he's going anywhere, like England's the favourite, but there might be a couple of that seems like a Racing player to me, or a Bordeaux player or something like that, or a Stade player, Stade Francais, something like that. But I think a couple of the bigger English sides will be looking for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Pat. Mike Reedy, another colleague of ours, I think Bundy was hung out to dry unfairly by the media after the third test. He was no worse than anyone else in that game. Our other colleague Glenn is saying, evening lads. James Grennan, that's good.
I responded to Mike's comment there about Bundy being unfairly treated. I think the lads are all hungover after the series win, and Bundy is one man that can party, so he could have been suffering the ill effects of that, Probably stealing someone's chicken box in the down Australia.
Dara Weston, I love Dara Weston. I love when backs like Burke me start going on about how easy it is to solve line-out issues. Right, Dara, yeah, very good. Okay, Mike Reedy. Tommy Freeman had 3 dreadful tests, and James Law was poor in the first 2. Our wings scored no try in any of the 3 tests. In fact, Hugo scored the only try in 3 tests of our back 3 players. All right. Okay. Pete, moving on. Because Jesus Christ, we're fast from the time as always. Pete, the third test. Interrupted by a threat of lightning on the 42nd minute. Dreadful conditions. The Australia took won the game. What did you make of that third test, Pete? Were the Lions just, as I said in the notes, just fatigued, or what do you put it down to?
Yeah, I think there's an element of the mental and obviously an element of the physical. I think the mental thing was, if it wasn't like rugby is a game of momentum, as we know, and Australia got the very good start, and it was a very good try. Was it scored by Jorgensen? Stand to be corrected. It was a very good try, and I think once it wasn't going according to plan for them, I think the doubts that the heads were starting to kind of say, we've got this one. This is a bit of a we're ticking a box here, kind of turning up in the red jersey for this game. The other side of it as well, of course, is that Skelton made an absolute nuisance of himself. You know, on the pitch, you know, unfortunately, James Ryan got knocked clean out. You know, it just kind of, it all started to kind of unravel a little bit as regards what we're trying to do. There was certainly an element of fatigue in it, and of course, Australia had nothing to lose. Nick White was being an absolute shithouse, but being, you know, just being Nick White, and he inspired the team to a win. One thing I would say, and this I would have thought, given Andy Farrell's previous with embracing the chaos that has surrounded a number of Irish teams, you know, particularly, you know, when against Scotland, where we lost 2 hookers, we had 3 props in the front row. Josh van der Fleer was thrown in. That kind of space. Farrell had talked about embracing the chaos. I was quite taken aback that didn't transfer, that mentality. He didn't kind of speak it up words, and I suppose kind of transfer that kind of way of thinking to, you know, the game when it was interrupted for the length of time that it was. I would have thought that that might have been the strength of the Lions, that this was going to do us a world of good. We went in like Australia had the momentum clearly, and the break should have did them no favors, but it did the opposite. So I suppose that, from my perspective, I think Farrell might have been quite kind of fed up, pissed off, disappointed with the fact that his team didn't kind of embrace the chaos and kind of get a comeback and close the gap and win the game.
I move. Yeah. Okay. I move. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, Pete. Good points. Richard Holland, that third test. What did you think of it?
It was very stop-start. The conditions, they didn't help. You know, it rained pretty much for the whole lot of it, and then that 40-minute break. The funniest part of that is Tyke Furlong was exactly what a prop should do, and had a little nap.
Well, you being a former prop, Richard, you should know about that.
Oh yeah, yes. You need a little nap every now and then. You get tired loitering on the wing the whole time, you know.
Of course, you do, yes.
Yeah, look, it was a very stop-start game. I thought Australia wanted it more. That's the only way I can put it. They wanted. They did. I think we said it the week before the game that we expected a big response from Australia, because they would have been stung with losing in the very last minute in the second test, and we were expecting, for want of a better term, a Joe response, and that's exactly what we got. It was a Schmidt response, and that's exactly what I was expecting. Fair play to them; they were the better team on the day, and it was just little niggly things that didn't quite come off for the Lions. You know, there was, you know, knock-ons when, you know, turning the balls over, and then the Ryan injury, that was horrible. That was shocking. And obviously then the break and play. I think that suited Australia a lot more than it suited the Lions.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks, Richard. James Grennan, that third test, as have been mentioned and discussed, it wasn't great, really, James, was it?
Well, all I can say is they're a bunch of bloody sissies. That was a grand soft evening in the sports ground, and they went into the dressing rooms for 40 fucking minutes. Jesus. No, in serious now, that weekend, Spa-Francorchamps was on as well at the Formula One, and it was a 40-minute break in the rugby and then an hour break in the Formula One. And Jesus Christ, I was so bored watching television that weekend. It was just incredible. But again, I think the boys partied hard after the series win. They were fatigued and tired and the whole lot. But as Richard said, Joe Schmidt had his homework done. He had a plan in place. And if you saw him when they did the dressing room shots before the start, before the teams came out, Joe Schmidt was the more animated of the two. He was going around. He was talking to all the players. He was geeing them all up. He was getting them. You could nearly hear him saying, "Not a backward step, lads. Not a backward step. We're hitting these boys there." And it was all very calm and very relaxed in the Lions dressing room. By contrast, Australia had nothing to lose. They played hard. They hit us hard. They sucker punched us, and the ball was probably like a bar of soap, and nothing seemed to go right for the lads. Poor Ryan getting the bang to the head. That was unfortunate as well. So also the yellow card didn't help our cause. It was kind of it was a lost cause at that stage. We didn't score for 62 minutes. You can't expect to win a game if you don't have your 0 on the board after 62 minutes. It's never gonna happen. So yeah, a bit disappointing, but all that was at stake for the Lions really was to have the clean sweep of all the games they played on the tour. That was the only thing that was to play for there. So not a whole lot really. And Australia had to save face, so they were far hungrier and more determined to get a result. Now they nearly got a result in the second game.
They nearly did.
Only for that last minute try by Dan Sheehan. That was what saved our embarrassment in the second game. So all the momentum was with them. So it was no major surprise to me that they won the third game.
All right. Okay. Thanks, James. Pat, that third test. What did you think of it? And I've a couple of questions to ask you about that third test after you tell us what you thought of that test.
Well, I'll just say maybe two couple of quick things. I'd say knowing Schmidt, I'd say I'd say you see all the footage and the videos and the photos of those lads with the deck chair or the patio chairs and the halfway line at the MCG. If I was I'd say Schmidt would be sharing those images with Australia, saying they're on your pitch, they're having beers, they're celebrating this, they're having a party. Are you going to stand for this? Are you going to have the same images again after the third test? And that's what the Australians were riled up for it. I think there was a sense of injustice that they had. They thought they were ripped off. If you kind of were listening to many Australian podcasts and seen Australian TVs, they're convinced that was the Jack Morgan clear out was illegal. There's only Will Gainey was coming out saying it wasn't. Maybe
God Almighty, this bloody thing again.
Yeah, the rest. But you can over there, they're convinced that they were ripped off. So I say that was going for them. And then the other thing was I was watching the last episode of the Ultimate Test there, and Atoje was addressing the squad, and he almost just said to them, "Oh, listen, we've put in the hard work, we've earned it, we've done it all. Now it's our time to show what we can do." And I think there was this sense that they thought they could go out and fling the ball around a little bit more, and let's light these guys up and show what we can do, because they should have played that a bit more direct, like Australia were doing, but they tried to. You can even see the Jorgensen try where Bundy kind of overran it, and Kinghorn couldn't find them. That was they didn't really need to start playing it out from their own half there, and they got caught and turned it over. So those kind of things all kind of led into it. And then just the fact that the weather conditions were terrible. They're able to keep on Taniela Tupou and Will Skelton a bit longer because of the breaks. And then the Lions were unfortunate with injuries like Freeman, Ryan, Itoje. So a lot of it all went against them. And and as James was saying, they had it won. So it's those tiny little percentages where you're like, fuck this.
No. Okay. We are coming up to 55 minutes. Mike Sheedy, what does Mike have to say? New rules make the line one few minutes is make game shit. Okay, thanks, Mike. Dara Weston. The lads fatigued in the third test, but Andy had plenty of fresh legs he could have brought into the 23. We basically had the same 23 for all three tests. Skaroo Two-Tone, or as we call him, Len. Would the panel agree that if Australia could have got an extra 10 or 15 minutes out of Skelton and Valentini in the second test, the Lions could have possibly lost the series? Pat, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, I was just going to say very simply. I was just going to nod my head in the background. But yeah, if they had been able to squeeze an extra, bit of time out of them, or if Valentini had played a bit more in the series, because he was brilliant for his 40 minutes. That was a big shame for him. And then Skelton was unbelievable. When he gets to Leinster fans know all about him at La Rochelle. When he gets to go, he's a brilliant player. They very possibly could have.
Now, come here to me, Pat. I said I had a question to ask you about the third test after you gave your initial points on it. Now, you being the writer, the journalist, rugby man yourself, I know you write for other sports as well. I think it's tennis and golf, isn't it, Pat?
Big into golf and soccer and stuff. Yeah, try and get away with most things. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Now, the third test. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued because you mentioned it as to why this happens. Farrell's pass to Aki was a bad one, and it went behind him. right? Aki really didn't have a chance because it was an awkward pass, right?
Mm.
So Aki fumbled the pass and then it was taken and there was a try score. The English media, Farrell is the darling of the English media, but the English media blamed Aki for that. Why does that happen amongst journalists? Look, what is it? Is it just a dislike? Is it just they don't know the bloody game? Are they shit journalists? What is it, Pat?
So, well, there's a few things. I suppose, yeah, sometimes it fits the narrative. Like, like I think they decided in a way that Aki and Lowe, like, they like, if you look at it, like the Welsh coverage, the Scottish coverage, the Irish coverage, and then compared to the English coverage, Lowe and Aki, they didn't have great test series, but like,
no,
they got it, like, it was heaped on them when anything went wrong. Like, so, and again, maybe sometimes it's just even seeing the replays. Like, Farrell just puts the head down, but Aki's a little bit more, this is a disaster, like, and he's a bit more expressive, and the camera focuses on him, and people are like, yeah, it must have been his fault. He must have overran it as well. Like, so it's a little bit like that. And sometimes it's like it fits the narrative that they already have set in their heads. Not every journalist, but for a good few of them, yeah.
All right. Okay. We are fast approaching the hour mark. Peter Martin, I just want to ask you about Dan Sheehan's sighting and why it wasn't picked up on at the time. Any thoughts on that? And he got a 4-game ban, reduced to 3 with this stupid, idiotic tackle school.
Yeah, well, look, when I saw it happen, I saw that obviously the Australian producer kept on showing, and you could see Tom Linus stuck under the wild bodies and Sheehan coming in. I remember seeing that and said, that's not good. That was my reaction when I saw that. Much and all, massive admirer and how clever and how good a player Dan Sheehan is. That I knew when I saw that happen, I was like, that's not good, and it wasn't good for Sheehan. Why was it missed? Look, there was an awful lot of bitching and moaning by the Australians about the refereeing, the officiating for Piardi, Amashekli, and what's his name, Ben O'Keefe. Look, the way it is, it's a bit of a team, and just coming back on what Pat was saying, there's going to be a one-eyed bias regardless when it comes to certain players. Like you're talking about, how they laid on the English journalists laid on Aki, over Farrell. They are constantly on Andrew Porter's back. I mean, he is in the crosshairs permanently. And it's not just in the English, the Scots, every other nation likes to have a pop at Andrew Porter saying he can't scrum, he's illegal. Why isn't he pinged more often? How is he in the team? Blah, blah, blah. It's basically, I think it's like, I do think the journalists are basically your reflection of the nation's fans. Everybody has their favorite player they like to hate. We all have your you're like Peter. You clearly love Finn Russell. Like, do you know what I mean? That's it's just the way it is. Like, and like that, Stephen Jones has,
Stephen Jones hates everyone. For Christ's sake,
I know, and he thinks, he harks back to players who played 10 and 15 years ago when it comes to all-time great teams. Absolutely bonkers stuff. But like, this is my point, is that there's an inherent bias there. You almost know, depending on who you're going to write or who you're going to read, I know what this guy is going to say. Like Neil Francis would have always had a particular angle on certain players and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Jerry Thorney has a particular bias as well. It's just the way it is. So
would you? Sorry, Pete. I'm conscious of time. Pat, would you agree with that? It's just the way it is that some journalists have a thing for certain players, or
like it might sometimes be unconscious as well. Like, but yeah, like it reaffirms what you think of this guy, and then you don't go back and kind of maybe look at maybe both of them are to blame or something like that. But yeah, sometimes it would, and yeah, like I would be the same thing. I'd probably have my own certain kind of. Like Jared Payne back in the day was one of my favorite players. Like, so like I kind of, if he did something great, I'd be like, yeah, I told you so. Like, like, so it works both ways, I suppose. Works for the negative and positive then as well.
So who's your favorite player at the moment?
Oh, at the moment, I like Hansen, yeah, like someone like him. Like I love Mac Hansen, and then Hugo Keenan as well. Sort of, but I always get drawn to the backs, maybe like the ones who get the glory.
Oh, very good. Okay.
The hookers started showing along, getting tries. Yeah.
Right. Okay, folks, we're over the hour mark. It's just let's just go on. We have 2 games on this weekend. Richard, I will come to you first on this win, lose, or draw. Who's winning? Who's losing? Who's drawing? Richard. We have the French women are playing the English women this weekend. Who's winning? Who's losing? Who's drawing?
Oh, that could be an absolute humdinger of a game.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm going to. I think England are just about shaded, but it should be an absolute cracking game.
All right. Okay. And the second game, this is going to be a tougher test for the Irish women. They're playing Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, that's up in Ulster. That's up in Ravenhill, isn't it?
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
At Fedia Stadium.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
Paco said it.
I think it's going to be a bigger challenge for Ireland this week, but he's testing players as well. That's the important thing to remember there now. He is testing. You know, there's a girl. She's English and she hasn't played for England for 5 years.
Elena King or some Elena
Perry was there or something like that.
Perry. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, look. I wouldn't be surprised if Ireland lost it, but at the same time, they should just about have enough in it. You know, because we're still looking to get the likes of Aoife Wafer back and that, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, I think she's Danny actually met her at the last game. I think Aoife Wafer's injured for another couple of weeks, I think. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Richard. James Grennan, the French women are playing the English women. Who's winning that?
I think England will shade that one.
Oh, okay. Ireland face as I said to Richard, a stiffer task against Canada.
Mm-hmm. Go for a draw on that one.
A draw. Oh, geez. Draw. Okay. Peter Martin, to you. French women against the English women. Should be a good game.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what Richard said. It's cracker of a game. I would say England probably to shade it by, I don't know, 4.
Okay. Is someone making dinner there in the background or
yeah, sorry. My 2 favorite girls in the whole world have just after arriving back from town from shopping and the bags hanging out of them in every direction. So that's the noise.
That's something for you, James.
All right. Peter Martin. Sorry, Peter Martin, did I ask you about Ireland versus Canada?
You did not, but I'll tell you. Okay, well, Ireland, I think, have recent good success against Canada, so that'll give them a bit of confidence. But like that, Scott Beamond is doing a bit of experimentation. There's players missing, players perhaps come off the bench, like Elena Perry. So he's familiar with her, so he knows what he's getting with her. You still have to fancy the home advantage with Ireland.
All right. Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, James. Okay, Pat, last voice on the show this evening. The French women are playing the English women. Who do you think is winning, losing, or drawing?
I'd say England for that one, yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, geez, you were straight out of the blocks there on that, Pat. You didn't even have to think about it.
I had time. I knew it was coming up.
All right, okay. And the Irish women are playing Canada, Pat.
I'd say Canada for that one then as well. Just again, maybe as the lads mentioned, that Ireland, they're kind of changing things up a little bit. A lot of changes from last week. Good. I'd be interested to see Stacey Flood at 15 as well, see how she gets on. And but I still like Canada are a good team, like and they beat us there last year. So and then Ireland I'd be worried about them going into this World Cup because they have a few good players who are out at the moment. So fingers crossed they get themselves together. I'd say Canada. If you're to put me up against the wall, I'd say Canada.
Yeah. All right. Okay, folks. That is all we have time for. We're over the hour mark per usual. My thanks are to all of you for watching and sending in your opinions and your text messages and all that sort of stuff. If you like what we do here, you can always subscribe on YouTube. We're also on Spotify and we're also live on the ruckthis.ie page. My thanks, as always, to Richard Holland, to James Grennan, to Peter Martin, and our special guest this evening is Pat McCarry. Go and see his play, folks. Soldier Field. You can get your tickets. They're on sale now, and it'll be shown in multiple theatres around the country. Pat McCarry, thank you very much, and thank you all, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Cheers. Take care.
Thanks, lads.
Thanks, Pat.
See you guys.
Take care, lads.
Yeah.
Bye bye.